Family, it's your boy WiseDuality, JoBar, Eliezer, Qandu. Where do I begin? I guess I was in a space of being flooded with information, not being still to quiet, not not being quiet to to hear, to listen, not just talking, coming out of a place where I'm not just talking, but I'm listening, hearing myself, hearing from God. And although I've been doing the word of the day and the messages in there, not just for me, but I felt as though someone needs to hear them. And I'm in a better place than I was where, like, when I was just had brain fog completely, as like I couldn't concentrate. And I came out of that. But then it's just like, okay, then I went to a place where it's just like overwhelming with thoughts, feelings, and emotions of what's next and what is. So today, you know, because I've been telling myself that I need to sit in quiet and quiet, but I've been making tracks and trying to get some work out and just doing God's work, um, clearing my energy, strengthening myself, spending time in the sun, stretching and clearing, balancing my chakras and clearing my chakras, you know, clearing heart energy and mind. And so my plate has been kind of full, concerned with me, you know what I'm saying? You know, just being in a better place, you know what I'm saying? Gratitude, love, peace, you know what I'm saying? Releasing all kinds of negativity within myself and forgiving, moving past it. So I was making a track, and at the same time, I was listening to something on YouTube. And when I was listening, it's like it just stopped, and it was on an ad, and the ad was on manna. Okay, so I'm like, okay, manna from heaven, right? Because everything is synchronicity. It's just different little signs if you pay attention. So manna, first thing that came to my mind was Manna Church, which is not too far from me. So I said, okay, it's been a while. There's something there that you want me to hear, something there that I need to be, made aware of. God has something for me to hear. He's saying something. So I set my alarm to go to the service. I get there, praise and worship song, and I was waiting for the message. Even though I did worship with, you know, the spirit that was moving, I felt it, but I was really waiting for the message. So the message was on seek and you shall find, asking you shall receive, and knocking the door will be open. So I'm like, okay. But it was all in culmination to the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5, where, blessed are the peacekeepers, and, this whole sermon that Jesus was giving. And everything was the seeking, the knocking, the asking, and everything was leading, because I knew where he was going with this, right? Because everything is confirmation for me, because I already am so tapped in that I already know what I need to do with corrections, or whatever it is. All I have to do is just spend some time, ask, and I'm made aware of it, or it just comes to me. And if I've been hearing it within myself. Okay, get beyond the world and put my focus and my mind on heaven, back in the things above this world, the Holy Spirit. So when you're seeking, and when you're asking, and when you're knocking, and like, what is the purpose? What are you supposed to be seeking? What are you supposed to be asking for? What are you knocking to receive? What is this persistence for God, for God's presence, for His Holy Spirit to fill you up, to overwhelm you, to live through you, right? So as He's saying these things, I'm saying it, and then He's saying it, right? So I'm already in this, so I'm answering. I'm like, okay, thank you, Yahweh, thank you, El Shaddai, thank you, Yeshua HaMashiach, thank you, HaKodesh Ruach, you know. And I'm saying thank you, you know what I'm saying, for this confirmation and this message that I'm on the right path, I'm on the right track, and to keep going and to keep digging. And all of these things were being said, to dig, to go deeper, to seek Him, to remain in His presence, to come to His presence, and all of these good things. So when I got back, I went to isolation, to quietness, to not to just talk, but to get to that place where you go beyond talking and asking, and but to hear, to place to hear, because you have to get to that place of quieting the mind, of just to shut up, to make your brain stop, to hear. And it takes time. It's not a rush thing, but it's also a conscious and unconscious thing at the same time. So when I finally got to that place where I'm no longer talking but listening, and I had asked the question while waiting for an answer, what is it that you want to say to me? And God speaks to us through His Word. So I seen Psalms 36 and 37 and 38 and 136 and 137 and 138. But I also knew that I wanted to read Matthew 7, Matthew 6, and Matthew 5. So when I got back, and after I got out of the quietness, out of His presence, to read the Word, still in His presence, but in a different state. So I started with Psalms 36, 37, 38. Then I went to Psalms to Psalms 138, and then I went backwards from 138 to 137 and 136. And the way that it reads is so crazy. Even the same thing when I did with Matthew 7, I went from 7, 6 to 5. And I don't know, it's not the first time I did that. I like to read the word backwards. Since I've read it forward many times, but if you read it backwards, it's so different. It's really, just try it. Read it, the chapters backwards. Start from the end to the beginning, and you'll get a different message. Not a different message, but you'll gain a deeper understanding. You know what I'm saying? Well, at least that's how it works for me. So I wanted to read these things because most people won't take the time to go read the text, the scriptures, when I give them to you. So if you're listening, you'll listen, right? Psalms 36, the Message translation. The God rebel tunes in to sedation. All ears eager to sin. He has no regard for God. He stands insolent before him. He has smooth talked himself into believing that his evil will never be noticed. Words gutter from his mouth, dishwash dirty water. Let me read that again. Words gutter from his mouth, dish water dirty. Dish water dirty. Can't remember when he did anything decent. Every time he goes to bed, he fathers another evil plot. When he's loose on the streets, nobody's safe. He plays with fire and doesn't care who gets burned. God's love is meteoric. His loyalty, astronomic. His purpose, titanic. His verdicts, oceanic. Yet in his largeness, nothing gets lost. Not a man, not a mouse slips through the cracks. How exquisite your love, O God. How eager we are to run under your wings. How eager we are to run under your wings. To eat our fill at the banquet you spread, as you fill our tankards with Eden spring water. You're a fountain of cascading light, and you open our eyes to light. Keep on loving your friends. Do your work in welcoming hearts. Don't let the bullies kick me around. The moral midgets slap me down. Send the upstarts spiraling flat on their faces in the mud. Psalms 37. Don't bother your head with braggarts. I wish you could succeed like the wicked. In no time they'll shrivel like grass clippings and wilt like cut flowers in the sun. Get insurance with God and do a good deed. Settle down and stick to your last. Keep company with God. Get in on the best. Open up before God. Keep nothing back. He'll do whatever needs to be done. He'll validate your life in the clear light of day and stamp you with approval at high noon. Quiet down before God. Be prayerful before him. Don't bother with those who climb the ladder, who elbow their way to the top. Bridle your anger. Trash your wrath. Cool your pipes. It only makes things worse. Before long, the crooks will be bankrupt. God investors will soon own the store. Before you know it, the wicked will have had it. You'll stare at his once famous place and nothing. Down to earth, people will move in and take over. Down to earth people will move in and take over, relishing a huge bonanza. Bad guys have it in for the good guys, obsessed with doing them in. But God isn't losing any sleep. To him, they're a joke with no punchline. Bullies brandish their swords, pull back on their bows with a flourish. They're out to beat up on the harmless, or mug that nice man out walking his dog. A banana peel will land them flat on their faces, slapstick figures in a moral circus. Less is more, and more is less. One righteous will outclass. One righteous will outclass 50 wicked. For the wicked are moral weaklings, but the righteous are God strong. God keeps track of the decent folk. What they do won't soon be forgotten. In hard times, they'll hold their heads high. When the shelves are bare, they'll be full. God despisers have had it. God's enemies are finished. Stripped bare like vineyards at harvest time, vanished like smoke in thin air. Wicked borrows and never returns. Righteous gives and gives. Generous gets it all in the end. Stingy is cut off at the pass. Stalwart walks in step with God. His path blazed by God. He's happy. If he stumbles, he's not let down for long. God has a grip on his hand. If he stumbles, he's not down for long. God has a grip on his hand. I was once young, now I'm a gray beard. Not once have I seen an abandoned believer or his kids out roaming the streets. Every day, he's out giving and lending, his children making him proud. Turn your back on evil, work for the good and don't quit. God loves this kind of thing, never turns away from his friends. Live this way and you've got it made. But bad eggs will be tossed out. The good get planted on good land and put down healthy roots. Righteous chews on wisdom like a dog on a bone. Righteous chews on wisdom like a dog on a bone. Rolls virtue around on his tongue. His heart pumps God's word like blood through his veins. His feet as sure as a cat's. His feet are as sure as a cat's. Wicked sets a watch for righteous. He's out for the kill. God alert is also on watch. Wicked won't hurt a hair on his head. Wait patiently for God. Don't leave the path. He'll give you your place in the sun while you watch the wicked lose it. I saw wicked bloated like a toad, croaking pretentious nonsense. The next time I looked, there was nothing. A punctured bladder, vapid and limp. Keep your eye on the healthy soul. Scrutinize the straight life. There's a future in strenuous wholeness, but the willful will soon be discarded. Insolent souls on a dead-end street. The spacious, free life is from God. It's also protected and safe. God strengthened, we're delivered from evil. When we run to him, he saves us. Psalms 38. Take a deep breath. God, calm down. Don't be so hasty with your punishing rod. Your sharp pointed arrows of rebuke draw blood. My backside stings from your discipline. I've lost 20 pounds in 2 months because of your accusation. My bones are brittle as dry sticks because of my sin. I'm swamped by my bad behavior, collapse under an avalanche of guilt. The cuts in my flesh stink and grow maggots because I lived so badly, and now I'm flat on my face, feeling sorry for myself morning to night. All my insides are on fire. My body is a wreck. I'm on my last legs. I've had it. My life is a vomit of groans. Lord, my longings are sitting in plain sight. My groans an old story to you. My heart's about to break. I'm a burned out case. Cataracts blind me to God and good. Old friends avoid me like the plague. My cousins never visit. My neighbors stab me in the back. My competitors blacking my name. Devoutly they pray for my ruin. But I'm deaf and mute to it all. Ears shut, mouth shut. I don't hear a word they say. Don't speak a word in response. What I do, God, is wait for you. Wait for my Lord, my God. You will answer. I wait and pray so they won't laugh me off, won't smugly strut off when I stumble. I'm on the edge of losing it. The pain in my gut keeps burning. I'm ready to tell my story of failure. I'm no longer smug in my sin. My enemies are alive and in action, a lynch mob after my neck. I give out good and get back evil from God haters who can't stand a God lover. Don't dump me, God, my God. Don't stand me up. Hurry and help me. I want some wide open space in my life. Deep, right? So I'm reading this and I'm contemplating, right? What is he saying to me? All of these things, right? Because the Bible is a mirror, right? To look at yourself, to accept what is, and to make the necessary changes. Psalms 138. Thank you. Everything in me says thank you. Angels listen as I sing my thanks. I kneel and worship facing your holy temple and say it again. Thank you. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your faithfulness. Most holy is your name. Most holy is your word. The moment I called out, you stepped in. You made my life large with strength. When they hear what you have to say, God, all earth's kings will say thank you. They'll sing of what you have done. How great the glory of God. And here's why. God, high above, sees far below. No matter the distance, he knows everything about us. When I walk into the thick of trouble, keep me alive in the angry turmoil. With one hand strike my foes. With your other hand, save me. Finish what you started in me, God. Your love is eternal. Don't quit on me now. 137, Psalms 137. Remember I said this is how I read it. Backwards. Alongside Babylon's rivers, we sat on the banks. We cried and cried, remembering the good old days in Zion. Alongside the quaking aspens, we stacked our unplayed harps. That's where our captors demanded songs, sarcastic and mocking. Sing us a happy Zion song. Oh, how could we ever sing God's song in this wasteland? If I ever forget you, Jerusalem, let my fingers wither and fall off like leaves. Let my tongue swell and turn black if I fail to remember you. If I fail, oh dear Jerusalem, to honor you as my greatest. God, remember those Edomites and remember the ruin of Jerusalem. The day that I yelled out, the day they yelled out, wreck it, smash it to bits. And you, Babylonians, ravagers, a reward to whoever get backs at you for all you done to us. Yes, a reward to those who grab your babies and smash their heads on the rocks. Wow. I say it all the time. We have a God of love and wrath. But vengeance is not ours. Let God handle it, whatever it is. Release your burdens, release your troubles, your worries, your pains, your strains. Psalms 136. And once you release it, then you can say this. Thank you. Thank God. He deserves your thanks. His love never quits. Thank the God of all gods. His love never quits. Thank the Lord of all lords. His love never quits. Thank the miracle working God. His love never quits. The God who skilled formed the cosmos. His love never quits. The God who laid out foundations on the God who laid out earth on ocean foundations. His love never quits. The God who filled the skies with light. His love never quits. The sun to watch over the day. His love never quits. Moon and stars as guardians of the night. His love never quits. The God who struck down the Egyptian firstborn. His love never quits and rescued Israel from Egypt's oppression. His love never quits. Took Israel in hand with his powerful hand. His love never quits. Split the Red Sea right in half. His love never quits. Led Israel right through the middle. His love never quits. Dumped Pharaoh and his army in the sea. His love never quits. The God who marched his people through the desert. His love never quits. Smashed huge kingdoms right and left. His love never quits. Struck down the famous kings. His love never quits. Struck Shihon and Amorite king. His love never quits. Struck Og and Bashanite king. His love never quits. Then distributed their land as booty. His love never quits. Handed the land over to Israel. His love never quits. God remembered us when we were down. His love never quits. Rescued us from the trampling boot. His love never quits. Takes care of everyone in time of need. His love never quits. Thank God who did it all. His love never quits. Right? So imagine me getting all this information, right? And And that's what he does, right? Make you look at yourself, look at myself, where I came from, to where I'm at now. Everything within me of who I was to who I am now. Walking through the middle of that Red Sea that he parted for me. Seeing the swallowing of my enemies. Thanking God. Thank you. That's all we can really do, is say thank you. Every day, nonstop. That's all we can truly do. We're supposed to worship God with our minds and our hearts and our bodies. Matthew 7. That's where I started. Matthew 7, the Message translation. Everything is in the Message translation. I don't know why I chose this particular translation. Maybe because it was the message, and I wanted to receive a message, and I wanted to give a message. Excuse me. A simple guide for behavior. Don't pick on people. Jump on their failures. Criticize their faults. Unless, of course, you want the same treatment. That critical spirit has a way of boomeranging. It's easy to see a smug on your neighbor's face and be oblivious to the ugly sneer on your own. Do you have the nerve to say, "Let me wash your face for you," when your own face is distorted by contempt? It's this whole traveling road show mentality all over again, playing a holier than thou part instead of just living your part. Wipe that ugly sneer off your own face, and you might be fit to offer a washcloth to your neighbor. Don't be flip with the sacred. Banter and silliness give no honor to God. Don't reduce holy mysteries to slogans and trying to be relevant. You're only being cute and inviting sacrilege. Don't bargain with God. Be direct. Ask for what you need. This isn't a cat and mouse hide and seek game we're in. If your child asks for bread, do you trick him with sawdust? If he asks for fish, do you scare him with a live snake on his plate? As bad as you are, you wouldn't think of such a thing. You're at least decent to your own children. So don't you think the God who conceived you in love will be even better? Here's a simple rule of thumb guide for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. Add up God's law and prophets, and this is what you get. Being and doing. Don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for a successful life that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff, even though crowds of people do. The way of life to God is vigorous and requires total attention. Be aware of false preachers who smile a lot, dripping with practiced sincerity. chances are they are out to rip you off some way or other. Don't be impressed with charisma. Look for character. Who preachers are is the main thing, not what they say. A genuine leader will never exploit your emotions or your pocketbook. These diseased trees with their bad apples are going to be chopped down and burned. Knowing the correct password, saying master, master, for instance, isn't going to get you anywhere with me. What is required is serious obedience, doing what my Father wills. I can see it now at the final judgment, thousands strutting up to me and saying, Master, we preached the message. We bashed the demons. Our super spiritual projects had everyone talking. And do you know what I'm going to say? You missed the boat. All you did was use me to make yourselves important. You don't impress me one bit. You're out of here. These words I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life, homeowner improvements to your standard of living. They are foundational words, words to build a life on. If you work these words into your life, you are like a smart carpenter who built his house on a solid rock. Rain poured down, the river flooded, a tornado hit, but nothing moved that house. It was fixed to the rock. But if you just use my words in Bible studies and don't work them into your life, you are like a stupid carpenter who built his house on the sandy beach. When a storm rolled in and the waves came up, it collapsed like a house of cards. When Jesus concluded his address, the crowd burst into applause. They had never heard teaching like this. It was apparent that he was living everything he was saying. Quite a contrast to their religion teachers. This was the best teaching they had ever heard. Matthew 6. The world is not a stage. Be especially careful when you are trying to be good so that you don't make a performance out of it. It might be good theater, but the God who made you won't be applauding. When you do something for someone else, don't call attention to yourself. You've seen them in action, I'm sure. Play actors. Play actors, I call them. Treating prayer meeting and street corner alike as a stage. Treating prayer meeting and street corner alike as a stage. Acting compassionate as long as someone is watching. Playing to the crowds. They get applause, true, but that's all they get. When you help someone out, don't think about how it looks. Just do it. Quietly and unobtrusively. That is the way your God who conceived you in love, working behind the scenes, helps you. Pray for simplicity. And when you come before God, don't turn that into a theatrical production either. All these people making a regular show out of their prayers, hoping for 15 minutes of fame. Do you think God sits in a box seat? Here's what I want you to do. Find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play before God. Just be there as simple and honest as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God, and you will begin to sense His grace. The world is full of so-called prayer warriors who are prayer ignorant. They're full of formulas and programs and advice, peddling techniques for getting what you want from God. Don't fall for that nonsense. This is your Father you are dealing with. He knows better than He knows better than you what you need. This is your Father you are dealing with, and He knows better than you what you need. With a God like this loving you, you can pray very simply like this: Our Father in heaven, reveal who you are. Set the world right. Do what's best, as above, so below. Keep us alive with 3 square meals. Keep us forgiven with you and forgiving others. Keep us safe from ourselves and the devil. You're in charge. You can do anything you want. You're ablaze in beauty. Yes, yes, yes. In prayer, there is a connection between what God does and what you do. You can't get forgiveness from God, for instance, without also forgiving others. If you refuse to do your part, you cut yourself off from God's part. When you practice some appetite denying discipline to better concentrate on God, don't make a production out of it. It might turn you into a small-time celebrity, but it won't make you a saint. If you go into training inwardly, act normal outwardly. Shampoo and comb your hair. Brush your teeth. Wash your face. God doesn't require attention-getting devices. He won't overlook what you are doing. He'll reward you well. A life of God worship. Don't hoard treasure down here where it gets eaten by moths and corroded by rust, or worse, stolen by burglars. Stockpile treasure in heaven where it's safe from moth and rust and burglars. It's obvious, isn't it? The place where your treasure is the place you will most want to be and end up being. Your eyes are windows into your body. If you open your eyes wide in wonder and belief, your body fills up with light. If you live squinty-eyed in greed and distrust, your body is a musty cellar. If you pull the blinds on your windows, what a dark life you will have. You can't worship 2 gods at once. Loving one God, you'll end up hating the other. Adoration of one feeds contempt for the other. You can't worship God and money both. If you decide for God, living a life of God worship, it follows that you don't fuss about what's on the table at mealtimes or whether the clothes in your closet are in fashion. There's far more to life than the food you put in your stomach, more to your outer appearance than the clothes you hang on your body. Look at the birds, free and unfettered, not tied down to a job description, careless in the care of God. And you count far more to Him than birds. Has anyone, by fussing in front of the mirror, ever gotten taller by so much as an inch? All this time and money wasted on fashion, Do you think it makes that much difference? Instead of looking at the fashions, walk out into the fields and look at the wildflowers. They never primp or shop. They have, but have you ever seen color and design quite like it? The 10 best dressed men and women in the country looked shabby alongside them. If God gives such attention to the appearance of wildflowers, most of which are never even seen, don't you think He'll attend to you, take pride in you, do His best for you? What I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. People who don't know God and the way He works fuss over these things, but you know both God and how He works. Steep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. Give your attention to what God is doing right now and don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Matthew 5. You are blessed. When Jesus saw his ministry drawing huge crowds, he climbed a hillside. Those who were, those who were apprenticed to him, the committed, climbed with him. Arriving at a quiet place, he sat down and taught his climbing companions. This is what he said. You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God and His rule. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are, no more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. You're blessed when you worked up a good appetite for God. He's food and drink and the best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you'll find yourselves cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind, and your heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. You're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they are uncomfortable. You can be glad when that happens. Give a cheer even. For though they don't like it, I do. And all heaven applauds. And know that you are in good company. My prophets and witnesses have always gotten into this kind of trouble. Salt and light. Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage. Here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. Completing God's law. Don't suppose for a minute that I have come to demolish the scriptures, either God's law or the prophets. I'm not here to diminish, but to complete. I am going to put it all together in a vast panorama. God's law is more real and lasting than the stars in the sky and the ground at your feet. Long after stars burn out and earth wears out, God's law will be alive and working. Trivialize even the smallest item in God's law, and you will only have trivialized yourself. But take it seriously. Show the way for others, and you will find honor in the kingdom. Unless you do far better than the Pharisees in the matters of right living, you won't know the first thing about entering the kingdom. Murder. You're familiar with the command to the ancients, do not murder. I'm telling you that anyone who is so much as angry with a brother or sister is guilty of murder. Carelessly call a brother idiot, and you just might find yourself hauled into court. Thoughtlessly yell stupid at a sister, and you are on the brink of hellfire. The simple moral fact is that words kill. This is how I want you to conduct yourselves in these matters. If you enter your place of worship and about to make an offering, you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you. Abandon your offering, leave immediately, go to the friend and make things right. Then and only then, come back and work things out with God. Or say you're out on the street and an old enemy accosts you. Don't lose a minute. Make the first move. Make things right with him. After all, if you leave the first move to him, knowing his track record, you're likely to end up in court, maybe even jail. If that happens, you won't get out without a stiff fine. Adultery and divorce. You know the next commandment pretty well too. Don't go to bed with another's spouse. But don't think you preserve your virtue simply by staying out of bed. Your heart can be corrupted by lust even quicker than your body. Your ogling looks, you think nobody notices. They also corrupt. Let's not pretend this is easier than it really is. If you want to live a morally pure life, here's what you have to do. You have to blind your right eye the moment you catch it in a lustful lair. You have to choose to live one-eyed or else be dumped on a moral trash pile. And you have to cut off your right hand the moment you notice it raised threateningly. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Threateningly, threatening, threateningly. Yeah. And you have to cut off your right hand the moment you note it raised threateningly. Better a bloody stump than your entire being discarded for good in the dump. Remember the scripture that says, whoever divorces his wife, let him do it legally, giving her divorce papers and her legal rights. Too many of you are using that as a cover for selfishness and whim, pretending to be righteous just because you are legal. Please, no more pretending. If you divorce your wife, you are responsible for making her an adulteress, unless she has already made herself that by sexual promiscuity. And if you marry such a divorced adulteress, you're automatically an adulterer yourself. You can't use legal cover to mask a moral failure. Empty promises. And don't say anything you don't mean. This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. You only make things worse when you lay down a smokescreen of pious talk, saying, I'll pray for you, and never doing it, or saying, God be with you, and not meaning it. You don't make your words true by embellishing them with religious lace and making your speech sound more religious. It becomes less true. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate words to get your own way, you go wrong. Love your enemies. Here's another old saying that deserves a second look. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Is that going to get us anywhere? Here's what I propose. Don't hit back at all. If someone strikes you, stand there and take it. If someone drags you into court and sues for the shirt off your back, gift wrap your best coat and make a present of it. If someone takes unfair advantage of you, use the occasion to practice the servant life. No tit for tat stuff. Live generously. You're familiar with the old written law, love your friend, and its unwritten companion, hate your enemy. I'm challenging that. I'm telling you to love your enemies. Let them bring out the best in you, not the worst. When someone gives you a hard time, respond with the supple moves of prayer. For then you are working out of your true selves, your God-created selves. This is what God does. He gives his best, the sun to warm and the rain to nourish, to everyone, regardless, the good and bad, the nice and nasty. If all you do is love the lovable, do you expect a bonus? Anybody can do that. If you simply say hello to those who greet you, do you expect a medal? Any run-of-the-mill sinner does that. Any word? What I'm saying is, grow up. Your kingdom subjects. Now live like it. Live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously towards others, the way God lives towards you. Summed it up in a nutshell, right? So that's my task. And it's your task as well. So I will leave you guys what I will always leave you with to ponder, to bring forth in your life. Where is the love, especially between the woman and the man? And what are you willing to do to fix it, the disconnect? Man is not greater than woman. Woman is not greater than man. We are equals. We both have God's spirit in us. But there is a difference in our purpose and roles and what we are to be for one another. And that's the problem. We must understand as a man who we are to be for women, and women who you must be for your man, regardless of how you feel, regardless of your emotions. Right? We must be who we are. And if we're not, that's where problems begin. So take some time, find yourself. I'm not going to say find your purpose, because your purpose should be you. Your purpose is to get back to being in right standing and alignment and connection with God, the creator, the source of all life, the breath of life, Yahweh, El Shaddai, Yeshua HaMashiach, HaKodesh Ruach, filled. You are a spirit more than you are flesh. Take some time to hear what the spirit in you has to say. Block out the flesh. Block out the world around you. Block out the negativity, the pain, the anger, the hurt. And that still small voice of goodness, of love, of peace, of joy, of purity. Hear what that has to say. Let that guide you. Peace.